Alright, back for another beer review, and today I'll be reviewing yet another beer from the Noble Savage Brewing Company, and they are out of Glen, Cove, New York, and this is their OGs, Killers, and Champions. So this is a double IPA that comes in at 8.2% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed in time of review. This can is exactly 3 weeks old. So recently I've been toying with the idea of getting my hands on some of the harder to get hyped hazy hop forward beers. And so I dipped my toes into the secondary market and I picked up 8 beers in total from 3 different breweries. So I got 3 beers from Noble Savage, 3 beers from Root and Branch Brewing, and 2 beers from the Test Brewery. All of the breweries are in the New York City / Long Island region of New York State. And I thought I would start with this one. I think 3 of the beers are kind of canned at the end of October, still super fresh, but I'm going to get to them first. And I decided to go with this one. Why? Because this is brewed with, and a shout out to a very good friend of mine and fellow beer tuber Dan over at FLX Beer Reviews. He always calls this hop bill the holy trinity of hops. It is Citra, a Galaxy, and a Mosaic, and it definitely is a classic trio hop bill from over pretty much the past 12 years. So I thought, hey, let's see what Noble Savage does with those 3 hops. Now, I've only had 1 beer from Noble Savage. It was about a year ago. It was sent to me by another good friend of mine and a viewer of the channel, Sierra Hotel. He sent me a bunch of awesome beers, including one from them. It was their Psychedelic Dinosaur. I think it was just a hazy IPA. I don't think it was a double, but it was delicious, and I remember it being super ranky dank. Like, it was really big with the dankness, but it was a delicious beer. So that's kind of why I'm seeking them out this time around. I'm like, all right, let's see what we got going on. So let's crack this open, get it into the glass, and see what we got going on here. I'm super excited about it. And like I said, I got a couple more from Noble Savage, 3 from Root and Branch, and then 2 from the Test Brewery. So let's give it a pour here into the glass and see what we got going on here. Pouring out beautifully. Do something like that. Got most of it into the glass. So what does that look like? Well, it looks like the milky kind of hazy IPAs that a lot of people crave nowadays. So it has this milky, orange, yellow color. Very bright and vibrant in person. On camera, probably be a little bit more dull, though you should see a big brightness here. Almost 3 fingers of this infinitely creamy looking head. It's like off-white, but that looks like whipped cream or something. It looks like a lemon meringue pie kind of topping. It just has this beautiful density look to it. It's not going anywhere. It just looks absolutely fantastic. Hold it up to the light. Yeah, it's murky, it's turbid, you can't see through it. When a lot of people see beers like this nowadays, when it comes to hazies, like on Instagram or on Tapped or whatever, they get kind of warm and fuzzy inside because they think it's going to be right in their wheelhouse. For me, yeah, I mean, it plays the role. It's not as like light as I've seen a lot of super hyped and harder to get hazy hop forward beers, but it looks beautiful and that head is not going anywhere, which is an awesome sign. Let's get a nose. Oh, what the that smells very different, very distinct. And that's coming from someone who's reviewed almost 2,300 beers on the channel. A lot of them hazy hop forward beers from Hop Butchers and other halves, and a lot of other hype breweries, Bunkishes of the world, Green Cheek, North Park, Treehouse, the whole 9. This has a distinct kind of nose to it. It might be the yeast they're using. I'm glad I said lemon meringue pie because I'm getting this big citrusy vibe, but it's almost like a lemony or like a lemon lime combined with like an orange, tangerine, grapefruit, huge citrus tones, but it has a little pop of vanilla. I wouldn't be surprised if a brewery like this, maybe using some lactose in there to bump up the body mouthfeel, but add a little bit of sweetness. But yeah, it almost has like a lemon meringue or like key lime pie kind of feel, sans like the graham cracker crust or like the breading to like the pie crust. Really nice pop of stone fruits, peach, apricot. There is a pretty big like green dank thing. Now, what I'm going to do with most of these beers that I picked up, probably going to review them in the 3 to 6 week range. That's kind of my wheelhouse. A lot of these beers, fresh to me, have too much of that greenness, too much of that hop burn. So drinking them under 3 weeks old for me, I don't want to chance it because I want to see what these beers are all about. And I think that like 3 to 6 week range. Typically, I'll drink most of these, around a month old at the oldest, maybe somewhere in the 5 week range. But I think right now this smells beautiful because I get a little bit Some sirens going by. I have a little bit of like a hot burn astringency in the nose, a little bit of greenness, but it's not overbearing. Yeah, I just went back. It's huge. It's big with the dankness. Like a slight like marijuana tone, but not like, you know, too intense, but it's definitely there. A little bit of like a honeydew melon or a cantaloupe, definitely melon heavy. Yeah, it smells like it's going to be a little bit sweeter. I'm hoping that the sweetness isn't too big on these. I'm in that wheelhouse where if I get a hazy hop forward beer nowadays, I want some kind of a balance to it, whether it's a huge dryness or like a moderate bitterness. This smells like it's going to be a little bit sweeter, like say a little lactosey vibes, but on top of that, you know, sweeter citrus, stone fruits, a little bit of like honeydew melon, maybe even a touch of like I'm going to say passion fruit, more like guava. It's very boisterous. It's very big. It smells absolutely fucking delicious. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. Really nice, but if I'm being honest with you, the nose is better than the taste off of that first sip. The body mouthfeel on this beer, fucking epic, like spectacular. Body's like medium full. It's not thick and syrupy, but it has a viscosity that coats the palate. Kind of what I think a lot of people are looking for, especially if you're starting getting that double IPA range. Even into the triple IPA range, you want a little bit more oomph to it. It's not too heavy-handed where it's going to bog down the palate, but it's very, it coats the palate. So it's, you know, it's very noticeable that it's a bigger body. The mouthfeel is fucking superb. This is mild to moderately carbonated, like smack dab in the middle. It's incredibly soft on the palate, infinitely smooth, and it's creamy. It's like luscious on the palate. It's almost, I just like kind of want to lay my head on the beer because the mouthfeel is just so like, just pillowy. It's just fantastic. It's just like a fantastic mouthfeel. Glass lacing is definitely superb. Pour the rest in here. Didn't look like there was too many chunks or goodies at the bottom like you get from like Hot Butcher beers, for example. One more sip and then we'll start talking about the taste. So the taste is everything I kind of said in the nose, but it's a little bit more subdued. The tip of the tongue is definitely a huge complex citrus character that is, again, that lemon lime meets like an orange and tangerine, like somewhere like split right down the middle. So it's like both of them, but then you get a little pop of this like pithy, like grapefruit, like bitterness, tip of the tongue, kind of wild. As that passes through, a big pop of like a peach and an apricot, definitely an overripe and like juicy stone fruit. This beer is quite juicy as a whole. The citrus isn't the thing that is juicy for me. It's more of the stone fruit character. And then about halfway, 2/3 way through the palate, get a little bit like a honeydew melon, closer to the rind, maybe a cantaloupe. Definitely a melon vibe for sure. A little touch of underlying guava tones on the sides of the tongue, and just like an omnipresent but like tertiary player is a soft vanilla note, which could be coming from one of many things. Sometimes I get like vanilla notes in like treehouse beers. I think it's from the yeast, or maybe just how the yeast is interacting with the water. Same thing could be happening here. Maybe there's a bit of lactose. It's not sickly sweet or anything on the palate. Like a lot of lactose beers, they build up the sweetness. This does not have that issue, although it is sweet to some degree. It's not cloying or over the top. This finishes with a nice semi to full-on dry kind of finish. Definitely dry in the back of the palate. It has a mild to moderate bitterness, and the finish is dank. It's not as dank as that Psychedelic Dinosaur. That one was a little bit more just so intense from the dank quality on the palate that I remember. This one has that, but again, like the rest of the flavors from the nose, it's more subdued. And even in the nose, the dank quality wasn't like over the top. Has a little bit of like a marijuana vibe, a little bit of like a leafy green kind of feeling on the back of the palate as well. Again, pretty well balanced, leans a little bit sweet, but like we'll say like 55-45 or 60-40 sweetness to dryness. It's a really well done, enjoyable hazy IPA. Like it's quite tasty, but it's not blowing my socks off. Like again, I'm picking up these breweries and dipping my toes in the secondary market to see what the hype, like again, I don't have my finger on the pulse anymore. If you watch the channel, you know I mix in a lot of shelfie beer reviews, some old school reviews, local stuff, and sometimes I'll get my hands on some hype stuff. But I was like, you know what? Let me see what some of these breweries are doing, and we'll give them a review and see what they're all about. Now I've had, again, one beer from Noble Savage. It was really good. This is also really good. That beer was better though. This is based on the hop bill, based on what I know about Noble Savage, is slightly disappointing as a whole, but even a disappointing beer from Noble Savage, from Noble Savage seems like it's still going to be a pretty good beer, because this is a pretty good beer. It's actually quite tasty. It's just not blowing my socks off like the Psychedelic Dinosaur. One thing that they're doing with this one extremely well is hiding the alcohol. This is, from taste alone, I can kind of tell this is kind of in the mouthfeel and the body. Obviously, would scream double IPA, but there's just a slight warming in my chest, nothing on the palate, 8.2%, hidden extremely well. So the pros on this one, super easy to drink. Body and mouthfeel are fantastic. It's pretty well balanced. It's just the flavors aren't popping as much as the other offering I have from them, and the cons are, again, the flavors not popping as much. Nothing really setting itself apart from a lot of other hazies I've had in the past, but it's still an extremely well done, fantastic double IPA in the hazy realm. It's really good, and I think any kind of hazy IPA lover would probably really enjoy this one, especially if you don't like, bitter or really dry beers, because this is pretty well balanced from that aspect. I just wish there was a little bit more flavor as a whole. If they are using lactose, like I said, I get a little bit of vanilla on the sides of the palate. Doesn't increase the sweetness too much. So I would say this, good. This is a very good to great beer, but it falls a little bit short just because the flavor profile isn't as intense as I would like from something like this. So OGs, killers, and champions from Noble Savage, no issues whatsoever giving this a low 4.25. I'll go 4.2. I think that's really where this one lands. It's a really well-made, well-constructed double IPA, just a little bit lacking in the intensity of flavors. I think with a little bit more pop of flavor, this would definitely get in the high 4.25 into low 4.5 realm. As is, can't go much higher than this 4.2, but still a really good score, a really good beer, and definitely one if they were to brew again to seek out. I think they released this one for like Halloween based on the name and whatnot, and I saw they had like artwork on their Instagram, so pretty cool. Anyway, price point availability. Now, keep in mind, I got my can on the secondary market, but I did check their website to see what like current beers are going for, and there was a 7.5% hazy IPA, $27 a 4-pack. So let's say the double IPAs are $27, maybe $28 or something in that realm. So you're talking about like $6.25, $6.25. No, not $6.25, $6.75 a can to $7 a can. That's pretty pricey for something like this, but again, it is New York City, Long Island, so you're going to pay more. They are hyped, so I get that. I will say this. I bought this on the secondary, like I said, and for all 8 beers shipped to my house, it was less than $9 a can. That includes the shipping. So that is pretty amazing that I paid essentially, let's say, maybe like $1.50 more than what I would have got it from the brewery, and I had it delivered straight to my house. If you're interested in, checking out secondary markets, like I don't really, this is the first time I really have dived into it, or like seeked it out, but I got this from Heat Miser Brews on Instagram. You can check him out. He has Noble Savage, Root and Branch Test, and sometimes some other stuff, but he's in the New York City range, and he hooked me up with a great deal based on what the price points are from the brewery to ship to my house. Like, I can't really beat it for the price point and being able to check this stuff out. And availability, I'm pretty sure Noble Savage is brewery only. You're not going to be able to like order them online and have them shipped to your house. I think Root and Branch you can if you're in New York State, but outside of that, you just need to know folks that can get their stuff, or, like I said, dip your toes in the secondary market. Now, when it comes to secondary market, like, everybody has their own opinion. It all depends, but I'm not looking to pay an arm and a leg to try this stuff out, but if I can get it for $1 or $2 more than what it would cost to just grab it from the brewery, I'm all in on that. Especially since, it's kind of crazy because a lot of people will maybe poo-poo on the secondary market, or, paying like an extra couple bucks a can because it's expensive. But like when Trillium shows up here from like actual bottle shops going through distribution and stuff, I'm paying like $8 or $9 for a Trillium can. That's like kind of in the same realm of this, and it's like they're going through the proper channels and it's still fucking crazy expensive. So like, I don't know, at the end of the day, do whatever you want, secondary, non-secondary, whatever the case may be. I'm probably not going to do this too often because it is, pricey. And on top of that, I can't drink as many just hazy IPAs as I used to. So, but I wanted to kind of grab some. So you're going to see reviews of these beers over the next month, 6 weeks. I'm going to sprinkle them in from time to time. And yeah, we got a couple more Noble Savage, the Root and Branch, and I'm really looking forward to the test. Test getting a lot of hype. So yeah, if you've had this one before, anything from Noble Savage, please post in the comment section. Let me know what you think about it. I know a lot of you probably won't care about this review because you can't get your hands on it, and I totally understand that. But for those of you who do seek out the hype beers or drink a lot of hazies and whatnot, what do you think about Noble Savage? What do you think about this beer? I'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to shut this one down. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review here on the Beer Patrol. Check back tomorrow for another review. And until then, cheers.